Hey, thanks for joining us on another episode here of About Fate. Today, I have one of my longtime friends. We go, I don't know, well, it's way back now. We're getting
Way back.
old, so we're getting pretty old now. So I was gonna say it ain't too far back, but it's been
It's way
almost
back.
20 years, man. Over 20
Yeah,
years, right? Almost 20 years. It's
yeah. We're
pretty
there.
long time ago, man. Have my good friend Deminion Small. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain at all. I'm just excited.
Yeah, excited. I'm glad you decided to join us and share your testimony with us. I feel like they say, we have a saying around our church: "Good testimonies build faith." So, it
Yeah,
helps a lot people. Especially to hear someone else. How God brought them out of situations and God helped them. You never know who's on the wrong path and how your testimony may help them to see God and come to God first, and even people that are already saved may help them, encourage them with something that they're going through. So I'm glad that you stopped by to share with us your testimony. So uh I'll jump right in, man. I don't like beat around the bush. Is that okay with you?
that's fine. Let's do this.
All right. So we'll start off with, just like tell us a little bit about yourself, who you from, like what was your total upbringing like?
All right. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. So I'm always talking to you about the Jazz. That's why. Born in Utah. My upbringing was a lot different from a lot of people.
Yeah,
I wasn't I didn't grow up with my mom or my dad. I grew up, with my grandparents, and my mom was, in and out of my life for the majority of my life. So I grew up with my grandparents, and sometimes when my mom she had her life together, she would come get us to come live with her. We lived a lot of places. We lived in Colorado Springs. We lived in Seattle, Washington, Tyler, Texas, a lot of different places. And eventually, like I always came back to live with my grandparents because I always felt like more like safe and like comfortable with them versus like my mom. Yeah, I just like never knew what was going to happen, so I always just ended up going back, to stay with them.
how was that? Was that rough, like as a child? Especially a
Yeah,
lot moving around. Doesn't sound very stable. Like, what was it like on your, I guess, mental?
it
Like, what was
was
it?
like I guess when you're a kid, you don't really like like you don't really like understand, but at the same time, it's like they're just moving from place to place. And like my grandparents, it was like more safe. With my mom, we were living in the hood. We were living all kind of crazy places, Section 8. Back then they had those food stamps that were like colored and everything. We're going to the store
Yeah,
with food stamps and stuff, and it was just like so. Like my grandparents, it was more safe. My mom, it was like only the strong survive. So
yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was a lot going on.
I get it. I get it. And you said that with your grandparents. So was like moving around. Was there any like inkling of church or spirituality or God ever happening in your life?
Well, I always tell people like no one ever like. Well, a lot of people don't know this about me. Like, we went to like two churches. We went to this Baptist church where like, they'd be like hooping and hollering and stuff, and I didn't know what was going on. And then being in Utah, Mormonism is huge there. That's
Yeah,
where
yeah,
started. So we even went to a Mormon church too, right? So I was
yeah.
getting like the all the Baptist stuff, and I was getting all the Mormon stuff. So like I was young then, so I didn't know the difference. I was just hey, my grandma when I heard her get up on Sunday mornings early, I knew we were going to church. I was like,
Yeah.
you got to go to church.
Yeah. So where did y'all settle in? I mean, did you eventually? I know you said Tyler. So how did you? Because I met you in Dallas.
hmm
So how did you end up settling in and just in Dallas?
It's kind of like a crazy story, but like actually, me and my grandma came to visit my mom and my sisters and my little brother, right? And
Yeah.
they were in Irving, so we ended up going out there just to visit because I was supposed to go back to Utah, but
Yeah.
then like I started having fun, with them, and I was like, I don't want to go back. And then like my grandma was like, okay, you don't got to go back. So like she left, and then like I called her to fly me back, and she did not fly me back. And I was heartbroken. I
So you end up just staying here
ended up just
after
staying.
that. And I guess So what happened like throughout your childhood? Like what was it? Just I guess going from there, like what ended up bringing you to know God? Like after life, I know life happens and a lot of things
Yeah.
happen.
What happened? All right, so I'll be totally transparent. Like, and I think you know this, and you know my uncle as well. So
Hmm.
like, for a while we were in foster care and like a children's shelter, right?
Hmm.
So we were there for like 60 days or so,
Hmm.
and then my uncle he stepped up and was like, "Hey, you know what? I'll take them. I'll take them in, you know, to my home." And yeah, so we ended up going with him, and then eventually my younger sister, me and her, we were both going to LMCA, but she ended up going back to Utah with my grandmother, and my little brother, you know, wanted to go stay with his dad in Tyler. So it was just me, just me, you know, there with my uncle, and um, we started. He was going to full gospel for like he like forever. So he was like, "Hey, you're coming to church?" I was like, "Cool," you know. So I just ended up going.
Yeah, he that's a good man right there, man. So I was able to, and somebody that I still
Yeah,
talk to
he's
this day,
awesome.
and an awesome man who will pray with you in a heartbeat,
Yeah,
and
he's awesome. He's the one who introduced me to salvation. I remember like one night we were leaving the church because I think it was Sunday night service you guys
Mhm.
have,
Yeah.
and he was like, "How do you feel about salvation?" And I was like, "Yeah, I like saving money." And he was like, "No, about salvation of the Lord, with the Lord." I was like, "Yeah, it's cool." Like if anyone's ever met me, I'm like, I'm just kind of like measured and kind of quiet about stuff. I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, it's cool." Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. What did he say after that?
He was just like, he would just try to like, teach me stuff, and he always had this like godly wisdom about him, So I just, watched his life, and then just watched everything, that he did, and then I was just like, man, like I want to be like that because I never had like a huge father figure, I'm in my life for a long time, So I was like, man, I want to be just like him, and being just like him, I saw Christ in him, so I just like, yeah, I want to be just like my uncle because he was emulating God to me, emulating the Lord to me.
Right. Right. And that, I mean, that is true. Like it's good when you have those people around that you can see Christ in them, and you can see like it's not it's not fake. Like they're one way when everybody's around, and they're another way when nobody's
Yeah,
around. Like it's good to be able to see somebody that's always the same, and
he's
they're like,
always
this
he's
is real.
always the same.
It's real for them. Like what
Yeah,
I mean?
he
So,
was always the same. And then even the Bible talks about follow me as I follow Christ. So that's what I always thought of my uncle as, just a great example for anyone.
yeah, I love it. And so when did you finally decide, like what brought you to like, I'm gonna give my life to God? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to repent of my sins and I'm going to say, you know what, God, I'm going to serve for you. I'm going to serve you.
Well, I think when you're like a teenager, like I think you kind of try to do it on your in your own strength,
Right,
so
right, right.
when I was a teenager, I tried, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, this seems like a good thing, but it wasn't until I actually moved to a Florida where I actually experienced God and got saved for real. We were going to this church, and like I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't want to be saved. I didn't care. I was just like, they just want some money or something. You know how the world thinks about the church sometimes.
Yeah,
It's like they just want some money or this and that. But I was going to this church, and they were always just so kind and nice, and and loving. And I was going there. I still don't want to be saved. And then like I kept going and going and going, and then I found myself like helping. I'm like helping them move stuff, volunteering my time, doing all kind of stuff. And then one day I just surrendered, and I went to the altar. And then my old pastor came up to me. He was like, "The Lord told me you were going to get saved today, and also that He was going to bless you this week." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." I'm just let me just do me. And then like a few days later, like, because at that time I was looking for a job hard. And like a few days later, like a job called me. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm in.
You got you were all in at that point. I
Yeah,
think.
that's literally all it took, and I think a misconception is that people always say something has to happen to you to for you to get saved. Like it doesn't. Nothing has to happen to you to nothing bad has to happen to you. Just
Right,
just
right,
give the Lord a try.
right, right. You know, I tell like I tell people that so often when I go out to like um, street. You know what I mean, like witnessing and just trying to let people know that what we're supposed to do, right? Proclaim Jesus, right?
Yes, sir.
So I tell people all the time. I'm just like, man, you'll give people a try over and over again. People that have misused you, mishandled you,
Mhm.
you'll continue to give them a try. How many times have you given people a try? You know, you get the
Right.
answer like a lot. I'm like, you'll give bad schemes a try to make money. Like you'll give, like you know what I mean. Like people will give everything a try, like in this when they think naturally, but when it comes to Jesus, like people don't want to give him a actual try. I've even talked to people who gave Jesus like I gave him an ultimatum, like if he don't make my
Yeah, isn't
life
that crazy?
great within 90 days. I was like, you put God on probation? Like what kind of I was like, he's under no obligation to make you rich in 90 days.
Right.
Like I was like, that's not how that works. I was like, and then like at that point you come in with ulterior motives. You're not even
Yeah.
choosing him of your own. Like you're choosing him based off of like conditions. Like if you do
That's
this,
what
this,
that's what
this,
they
this,
do.
and
That's what
this,
they
and
do.
that's like you put God on a work probation. Like that's not,
No, it
that's not
doesn't
how
work
it
like
goes. You
that.
know what I mean? And so if you come to him genuinely,
Genuinely.
you will see like the actual fruit and you'll see like God really bless your life. Like you said, you got saved and then he told you, like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you gotta get blessed. Like God showed me, and then you saw God immediately turn around and bless your life in that same week. When you're
Same week.
sincere with God, you know what I mean? He'll be sincere with you.
Amen.
Uh, how did you feel after you finally gave your life to God? Like what changed? What you
I
feel? What
I
changed?
felt like I felt peaceful because like I think when you're in the world you have like a carnal mentality like hey, I'll just be like a good guy and just like take care of stuff and be good to people, which only works to a certain extent. But with the Lord, you just have like a peace about yourself. It's like you're no longer like running and check this out. And for those who may be listening or those who may not be saved, um, you know, there just comes a point in your life where you just want that peace. You just want you want your life to be different. So that's what I felt. I felt so much peace and so much joy, and I felt like this is where I belong because like you know like sometimes we like when we're in the world we want to fit in and do this and that. Like I never fit in anywhere. I
Right.
never did.
Yeah. I mean, we fit. We was pretty close. But but I know what you said. Like, and that's I mean, I've been there too where you're like, I don't fit in anywhere. Like, and
Hmm.
it's not until you feel you answer the call of Christ and you just like where that whatever that void is that you're looking for, it seems to get filled.
Yep.
He feels that void that you where you like you're out searching for something and you don't
Yep.
even realize what you're searching for. It's like I just know that there's a void somewhere
Yep.
and I need to feel it. And sometimes you didn't realize what you needed to feel it was right there in front of you the whole time, you know.
Yes.
And we know after you get saved, it doesn't just like stop right there. Like we have the Bible tells us we have an adversary,
Mhm.
like you know what I mean. That's going to continue to try to make us, you know, renounce living for Christ. Going to make us try to go back on that. And then Jesus tells us, right, in the world you're going to have tribulation, but he
Yeah.
tells us we can be of good cheer because he's overcome the world. So, I mean,
Yes.
you understand that there are going to be trials that come, but you know we can hold on. He's already told us we can have like victory over all of those things. But so, are there any like specific situation or trial that you had that you don't mind sharing with people
Oh man.
that maybe can encourage them? Something that along the way and that you dealt with.
Um, I'm gonna say this one because I believe like sometimes as Christians we kind of shy away from this topic, but I actually, I went through like I was married before, and I went through like a divorce and things were crazy and stuff like that, and that was like a big trial in my life. It was difficult, but at the same time, like I knew the Lord was there, and I knew that everything was going to be okay. It was tough, man. I was divorced. I didn't have a job, and I was staying at somebody's house on top of that. So you know how hard that is. Staying at somebody's house, it's like I was just going through it. It was a storm, man. It was like everything came at one time, and I was just like, "What am I going to do?" But I actually just went silent. I really just prayed like all the time. Like I was in this couple's like house. I just would pray in the room for like hours a day, just like crying out to God, like not crying just to like help me, just crying out like, I want you to be, even more real in my life. And it really just like changed everything at that point. Like he really came through and just made everything happen.
That's a blessing. Were there any particular scriptures that you were standing on during that time?
And I stood on Psalms 91. I stood on Corinthians like 4 and 18. Like I was just like I was literally everywhere in the Bible looking for any type of like encouragement, anything where I thought that God could just help me in that situation, and He did. And like when I'm telling you, I read and I prayed like all the time because I might have a job, so I gotta let me get even more serious,
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. Like what, like like I'm not working, so why not also
Yeah,
give God this extra time? Like
it
I
was a
should,
lot of time.
you know what I mean? Like I should give him all this time. Did you feel like the strength, him giving you strength during that
it,
time, or
it changed that trial changed my life. It changed my life.
how so?
Like I could like feel the Lord like everywhere I went for months, and not like there's like different like ways He comes, like, well, to me, but I always felt like a sensation on my like on my head, and like when I knew He was around, I was just like,
Right.
okay, He is around, He is here. It's like that sensation just happened all the time. Then like it got to a point where like if I didn't feel it, I'd be like, God, where are you? Where are you? But I knew He was always there. But I think sometimes when we're babes, we want the outward feeling versus the internal feeling.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. That's great. And I'm glad to. Were there any songs though? I was ask people, I mean, I know we stand on the word of God and praying and all of that, but sometimes the song can help massage you a little bit while you're going through.
What they did, like I really didn't know what to actually listen to because like
Uh-huh.
there's so much. So like I was like, I'm listening to what my uncle listened to. He's like, there's like some John P. Key, Wash
Okay, you
Me.
went back to the old school.
I went to hey, those old school songs, they will carry you over. I'm telling you, they will get you through a trial. It was like I listen to all the old school stuff, like Richard Smallwood, and
Okay, okay.
I'll listen to all the old school stuff. It brought me through.
I love it. I love it. We usually get. I used to ask most people, and they would give me. They would mention how Fred Hammond or something with Fred Hammond, and I was like, they like back in the '90s, Fred. So they always went to the old
Oh,
school, and
you have to with Fred,
yeah,
but like, cause I know my uncle always like he always listened to him too. So I him, but like his music would kind of get me like a little drowsy a little bit. So I need something like more upbeat to like keep me
yeah,
like in the race.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, and me growing up, my mom she loved the Williams brothers, so she could listen to those old quartets all the time. And then when I came to Christ, I found myself, let me get me some quartet. So
Something about the old school songs. They,
yeah,
they, they got something on them that just like gets you through it. You're like, I can do this.
yeah, I love you, man. And there during this time though, I mean, now that you've been on the walk with Christ, how has there been any like spiritual heroes in your life or friends that have had a big like impact on your life on your walk with Christ?
Oh yeah, of course. Of course, I'm gonna say my brother Tyreen. Just seeing his life and seeing how just consecrated he is to the Lord, and just see just how he lives and how genuine he is. I've never seen someone who's just so genuine about everything, and who also just like loves the Lord so much. just watching him and knowing him for years, because he wasn't always saved either, and just seeing how his life changed
Mhm.
and how, like the Lord told him to, to move to California, just like and he did. It was just like wow, and then I just saw how much like the Lord did from it, did for him to move there. I was just like, man, this is really really the Lord. Just watching him.
Yeah. Anybody else in your life, like pastor, somebody like that?
Oh
I
yeah,
know.
my pastor John, he's awesome. Just watching his life, and also just like how he teaches, and then just seeing that he's not out for himself; he's only out for the Lord. I think
Yeah.
a big epidemic in this generation is that everyone's building their own like kingdom and building their own like is building stuff that probably more than likely wasn't what the Lord wanted, but seeing someone just building the Lord's kingdom and not their own just really like drew me to him.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love it. Um, anything you participate in, like groups at church, you know what I mean? So why you love working with those particular, and within church we have smaller ministries that we work with. Anything that you do at church that you love?
Yeah. Well, what I was doing for a while, for like a year and a half, I was actually going to like these centers for like the homeless, because I was homeless before,
Hmm.
and I would go to these centers and just like share God with everyone. But what was crazy is that this is kind of crazy because like they split the centers up to man and women, right? So on some days I would do the men, and other days I would do the women. So when I did the women one time, I was like, I have no clue what I'm about to say. I was like,
Yeah.
I had no clue what I was about to say. But um, what I found is that they were like even more. They were even more like hungry for the Lord than than the men were, because when I do the men, they were like prideful, like hey, I'm a man, I'm gonna be all right. I mean, one time I ministered there, and like the Lord came over me, and I think I said, hey, if you guys are just tired of living this way, come to the altar, because obviously, and like sometimes like you got to be hard, like even the Lord sometimes will have you to be like like a little like rough with people, because
Right.
sometimes
Right. Right.
people need it. Got
Right.
people
Right.
need it. You're not always going to be the be the lamb. You got to be the lion as well.
Right. Right.
So I think I told him, like, if you guys are tired of living this way, come to the altar, because your guys' life choices, I haven't led you anywhere. And I was like, man, that was kind of rough, but the Lord's rough with people sometimes.
Yeah.
And like there was so much breakthrough. This hardened guy, he was like you can tell he was he was in the streets for a long time. Like he
Yeah.
was he was in tears. A lot of these guys were in tears, and I was just like, man, the Lord is really like touching people, and it was powerful.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. Then before we get out of here, man, is there? I always give my guests a chance to just speak. Whatever they want to leave with our listeners, and whether it be a scripture or a thought, anything you want to leave with the listeners, and just explain why.
I guess what I would say is just know the Lord for yourself. I think at times we're in church where we're waiting for the pastor to deliver some super word, which is great. At the same time, in your time, you can read the word of God. You can worship. You could listen to music. I would say cultivate your own relationship with the Lord, because we are in the New Testament, to where we have access to Him, to be able to know Him for ourselves, know His voice for ourselves, know when He's actually speaking, know when He's not speaking. So that's one of the biggest things I would leave with the audience, is that know the Lord for yourself.
I love it, man. I'm so glad that you stopped by. I love that part. That'll make me want to preach. Know the Lord for. Oh, that's a whole message right there you can preach on. But I'm so glad that you decided to stop by, and I really appreciate you just stopping by and like sharing your testimony with us. And till next time, we're going to go ahead and roll the outro.